January 17th, 2023, Littleton Conservation Commission. And I would like to start off and say welcome back to Michael. It is always a pleasure to have you with us, and we're happy you're here. All right, so we are
happy to be back.
Fantastic. So we have quorum. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to approve the minutes from January 3rd. It was a brief but productive meeting. Would anyone like to comment or make a motion on those minutes from January 3rd? Anyone have any comments, questions, concerns?
It's just the comment with the future meetings still say the 22nd, 2022. So, but I know that that's just a copy and paste in the.
All righty. Okay, so we have one omission. Do we have anyone that would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Fantastic. Andrew, you're going to do us the honors?
Certainly. All right, roll call vote. Kyle.
Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Carl.
Carl Melvin, aye.
Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Michael.
I don't think I can vote on this one.
You can vote as present because you are here for this meeting. So
I am present.
excellent.
Sarah.
Sarah Seward, aye.
And Kyle, did I already get you? All right, it's unanimous.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump to administrative discussions. We're going to see if there's any updates or administrative actions that we would like to add. I know Amy has a few to add, so I'd like to add it to the list, and we may just jump back to this list a little bit later on. Amy, what would you like to add?
I just want to add quick mentions of 27 Maplehurst, Town Forest Boardwalk 1, the ADA trail at Cloverdale, and just a quick mention that of the OSRP.
Okay, so hold on one second. 27 Maplehurst Boardwalk 1, ADA Cloverdale, and the last was?
OSRP, the Open Space Recreation Plan.
Okay, super. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So wetland fee review. I know we've spoken of this. Updates.
Excuse me. So Tim went through and revisited all the towns I had gotten information from previously, and the only one who had changed their fees was Groton, and they only changed one category in there. So I can throw them up if you want to see them.
What are your thoughts? Do you think we're still in order? That's an enforcement order.
Oh, look, there it is over there. We are still, I'm looking at it on my screen. Sorry about that. Actually, I can just do that. That's gonna be a problem. Yeah, Groton went up. Well, first of all, ours were approved in 2018, so it hasn't been all that long, and they're all over the place. We're sort of kind of in the middle. I think if anything that we change would probably be the category 3, which is basically, really new construction and road construction, all that without actually wetland impacts.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion that if there's a commission member that would like to work with Amy and maybe Tim, just to kind of another set of eyes to look at that and bring those comments to the next meeting, and we'll just carry that forward for another discussion? Do you want to do that? Or do we want to, what would you like to do? Commission?
I'm happy to workshop with Amy and Tim on that.
Okay. All right, Amy, are you good with that?
I am good with that. I also have a question out to MACC and MSMCP if they know of anything about DEP increasing their fees, which I kind of doubt, but theirs are from 2014.
Okay. Yep. That would be very helpful. Okay, great.
Helpful.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, shoreland permitting issues, including docks and beach nourishment. So
the question here is what to do about, I'm sure there's any number of docks on any number of our lakes that might not have either an order of conditions or a Chapter 91 license. It has come up, including when the that styrofoam dock was an issue. I talked with town council, and it's really up to the commission whether or not you would want to chase the styrofoam issue. We do not necessarily regulate the water column, but if it's determined that the styrofoam has an impact on bordering vegetated wetlands or land underwater specifically, then you could. Conversely, it also may be time just to come with grips somehow of a way to get everybody in compliance.
Through Chapter 91, you mean?
Through Chapter 91 as well as Concom,
Okay.
the Wetlands Protection Act. So I had sent around what Stowe had just very recently and coincidentally had done, and I took a crack at changing that a little bit. It's basically a policy that says that, you know, from here forward, if a landowner with waterfront comes in for anything, but they have a dock or something to that effect, that before they can get their certificate of compliance for their house addition, they also need to bring their dock into either Chapter 91 and or order conditions compliance.
Okay.
That
And
would be going forward.
is some of this still in discussion because Littleton doesn't have a harbor master who would, in theory, help oversee this chapter?
Well, the harbor master would certainly help, and it makes the applicant's life easier on the Chapter 91 end of things.
Okay.
So the harbor master, other than, you know, certainly helping out getting all these docks lined up, would make a huge difference under the Wetlands Protection Act. It depends what they do. And the problem with the harbor master is that as of this year, they basically have to go through, I forget what it's called, a police academy training.
Okay.
Which is like $5,000 worth of training.
Okay. Does the code enforcer, Ed Mullins, have any thoughts on permitting docks if they want to take it, not take it?
I didn't ask him that. He did say that if there's a dock without a house on it, that means the dock is not an accessory use, so it's out of compliance. So again, I'm sure there's situations like that, and whether or not that is worth chasing or not is another issue also.
Okay.
And I
So-
also talked
so
with
nobody
town council both about if you wanted to do that policy going forward or something else, and or some sort of public information letter meeting, do a mass mailing to everybody who has storefront, and just let them know that docks, retaining walls, beach nourishment, dumping sand, you know, all those things require a permit of some sort, likely require a permit of some sort.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have questions for Amy? I know we haven't talked about beach nourishment, which is the equivalent of adding sand to the beach.
Yeah, so there's nobody that regulates this right now. Is that the whole gist of this? Is that what I'm understanding?
The gist of it is that a lot of this is going on and we never know about it.
Right, but we don't have jurisdiction. We don't have jurisdiction. I'm confused on who. It doesn't sound like anybody can step up and do anything about it. About
No,
this
we
one
do
document.
have jurisdiction. You would have jurisdiction over it. Purely floating docks is kind of a separate issue, and I'd have to look into that under the Wetlands Protection Act. But there's a laundry list of things that may or not require Chapter 91. You know, retaining walls, that new boat ramp on Mattawanakee, they all needed Chapter 91. And there are some things that, if it is accessory to a single family home, can get by on an easy track under Chapter 91. So I think it all needs a little more looking into. My understanding is that, and they haven't gotten back to me, is the Chapter 91 folks, which is a separate arm of DEP from wetlands, might be willing to come out, especially if it's a Zoom meeting,
Yep.
and have a discussion.
And I think we mentioned that briefly, is that might be an option. I know I would like to hear from them. So with the commission's support, if we can ask Amy to engage that conversation with them, just so that before we make any decisions, we can really get a better handle on the historic portion of that. Commissioners, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do as well.
Okay.
And there's even a chance that the DEP circuit rider might be able to come out and do the same thing, either the same night or a different night,
Okay.
from the Wetland Protection Act point of view.
That would be great. Now that we've got 2 more, February 7 and 21 posted, that would be great. Okay, moving along, let's talk about Wellington parcel acceptance. Amy had set forth an example of the, well, not example, the copy of the quitclaim deed. As we know, the town is granted to the town, and then we are the pass-through for that. It has not been viewed by council. So the thoughts would be that we just hold on to it until the next meeting. I believe they know that we're in support of this. It's approximately 2.1 plus acres. So my support would be, let's just kind of wait until we have it finalized and then just put it on for the next meeting. Does anybody have any questions on that gift? Okay. Next is the Cobb's Conservation Restriction, Littleton Water Department. MOU signatures. Amy, are we good on that?
Everybody except Chase has signed it, who can sign it. So when he logs in, I'll remind him that I need it, and it's a live signature, so I can't just DocuSign it.
Okay. Continued request for a certificate of compliance. Those are all the K phase ones.
Right, so Hancock did do a quick measurement of the 1 for lane. That was the driveway extension. That's 800 square feet of driveway widening. 3 for did move the fence, and I'm just trying to get a site walk with the folks out at 5 for, because I think they're all set. So does the Concom think this is a good time to get the owner of 1 for in to talk about the driveway?
Anybody have any thoughts?
Does the driveway obviously impacts closer to the wetland?
It's I'd just say sort of like the outer 100-foot buffer zone. It is not in the inner 50 feet.
Okay.
Should we talk about it before we invite them in to ask them what's going on? Or
Yeah, because he was in I don't know, quite a while ago when this all sort of started, and was sort of looking direction, and it was just kicked down the road while we were dealing with all the other issues as well. So if the commission thinks they do have direction and or wants to do sort of a site walk, it would probably be good to get those ducks lined up ahead of time.
how have we handled other additional work outside of the 50 on that subdivision?
Let me think about this. There hasn't been anything else like this. The other things have been, patios or sheds that were within the lawn and in the outer 50. So that can be an administrative approval. Driveway's a little different. I told initially you could go anywhere from rip it out to add a little trench drain or some kind of stormwater or something along it.
I think it would be good for everyone to go out on site. Can that just be a drive-by, Amy, or do we want to have a scheduled site walk?
Up to you. I would not go on the property.
No.
without him knowing
Staying
it,
on the road. Yeah.
But you can just drive around the circle and look down his driveway.
Okay.
It is an area that would have been lawn otherwise.
Okay.
He didn't, cut any trees or anything.
Commissioners, what would you like to do? Drive-by or a meeting? And then if we do a drive-by, I can ask Amy to send us a locus and highlight which side of the driveway is the encumbrance.
Yep.
Thoughts?
I'm good with the drive-by.
Okay. So Amy, if I
It's
could ask
easy
that, if you would like, I'd rather put them on the next meeting because I know we're going to start to get backed up at some point. So if we could ask everyone to do it prior to the next meeting, I think that would be helpful. And then we can have those open discussions with them on the 7th. Are we good with that?
Have him come in on the 7th.
Yeah, but the understanding that you would send us kind of a map with a little bit of detail and narrative to just
Yep.
doing that drive-by.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Everybody good with that? I would like to go ahead and jump to, one more item is those enforcement orders. On January 9th, Amy and I went out, and Amy, I'll let you talk about the two that we have in front of us. One is Ipswich and one is Foss, but they're both kind of related. And this was because we had been alerted from the code enforcer. And I don't know, Amy, if you have any photos.
Yep, I'll try this again. So it's basically two properties, and there's two additional ones, but they're clearly outside the buffer zone. And they're on Ipswich as you're driving down towards 35 Queen to that house that's being demoed on the left-hand side, and they've done some tree cutting in there. And it did some research, and it turns out that Seal Harbor, Mark Gallagher, owns what would be on the left side of Foss Lane, which is a paper road in there. And even though it's not listed yet, but the assessor checked with that. And then on the right side, it is still shown as a different owner, but I did eventually speak to Mark Gallagher, and he said he has that property under agreement as well. We saw wetland flags out there, and it sounds like Places did the wetland survey and delineation. And Mark basically called me after I issued the enforcement orders as a mea culpa. He didn't realize what he was doing. And then Sue Carter also called me and said, mea culpa, she should have been riding herd more on what they're doing. Sue is sending out her survey crew, and they will survey all these stumps, as well as the limit of work, and should have that by February 7th. She thought she might actually have it today, but she didn't, so that we can move forward on the 7th with what the commission would like to do.
Where is Foss Place?
Foss Place, if you go down Ipswich,
Yeah. Not too
if
far,
you-
just on your left. We just did a recent house there not too long ago. If you get to the end, you've missed it. It's on the left. And
this
there's
is
a
two
sign.
Foss, this gray house, and that's got an order of conditions on it. And this is looking down Foss. Obviously, Foss is not there yet right now. It's still a paper road. There's all their grindings from the trees. And
Are
They
you sharing
wanna-
your screen, Amy? We can't see your
I'm sorry,
photos.
that didn't work, huh?
And then after Foss, as you carry down Ipswich, there's another paper road called Woodbridge or Woodridge. I don't know if it's Bridge or Ridge, but that's a paper road that has been encroached on as well.
That looks like fairly substantial work to me. How does that go?
Yeah, it is. As you go down, you get closer to the wetlands. So the wetlands is as you're looking straight at this photograph, straight ahead, and then off to the right as well. Not too far, there's blue flags. So we are asking for the cataloging of the trees. That should be diameter and species. Work has been stopped. There's nothing going on there. Members can certainly walk down Foss and see everything that has gone on. It was substantial. And we have to talk to Sue in terms of the hydro connection going down Ipswich that goes all the way from that property. There's open kind of country drains that run through abutters properties that then go all the way down to the end of Ipswich into that wetlands. And it does pick up.
They did call it bordering vegetated wetland.
Yeah.
They were not arguing that. And I don't know, this was after we had a bunch of rain, so I don't know if this is really a potential vernal pool. I don't remember seeing something I was suspicious of in that area, but I've never really looked closely. But that's something else to check out potentially.
That's a substantial loss of trees.
Yes.
Yep.
There were several clearly dead ash in there, but there was other stuff as well.
Well,
So I think-
we're not saying, we're not necessarily saying dead trees are bad.
Exactly.
No,
Yep.
not at all. And so I think that we'll know more on the next meeting where they have been asked to come in on the 7th. Amy, do we need to do anything to ratify these 2 enforcement orders, or do we need to vote on them?
Yeah, we need to vote on it. And I'd also say they might have difficulty getting the species on these trees. And they certainly can't get DBH, but they can get the diameter of where they cut it.
Well, they can work hard at it. They can look at some of the aerials as well. What I'd like to do is, if we can separately, there's 2 separate enforcement orders. The first is Diane Thompson, which is property on the right, and you'll see this was attached she's out of Warrenton, Oregon. And so I'll go ahead and make the motion to accept this enforcement order if we have a second.
Second.
All right,
Okay.
roll call vote. Brian,
Brian Crowley, aye.
Sarah,
Sarah Seward, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
Michael,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Carl,
Tom Alberg, aye.
myself, I. It's unanimous.
Okay, and then the second would be enforcement order, Mark Gallagher, Seal Harbor out of Acton on the adjacent property for the enforcement order. That would be my motion to accept it.
Second.
All right, roll call vote again. Carl,
Tom Alberg, aye.
Michael,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
Sarah,
Sarah Seward, aye.
Brian,
Brian Crowley, aye.
and myself, I. It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, we're gonna come back to some of the other items a little bit later, but we're gonna open the 7:45, which is a public hearing notice of intent, 29 Lakeshore Drive, Mass DEP 204-0979, raise and rebuild single family house. Who's here to speak?
Hi, Kyle Cormier with Oxbow Associates, here on behalf of the applicant, who is also in the meeting, Michelle. And with your permission, can I share my screen to show the plan as I talk?
Yes, thank you for asking, Kyle. Go ahead.
Okay, so the proposed project is a tear down and rebuild of a single family house. On the plan, the existing house is this interior polygon with the hashed lines. And the proposed house is the stippled outline shown here. We're also proposing a front deck and a carport in the rear of the house. The parking areas are going to be gravel. We're proposing that the stockpile area be outside the, excuse me, the 100-foot buffer zone along Forest Road. There's no grading proposed for the project, strictly just tear down, rebuild over the existing foundation with a slight extension of the house on the right side shown on the plan. The basement currently on the house is a full basement, size basement, and that's going to be reduced to a crawl space. The current numbers for work within the 100-foot. So the 100-foot buffer zone on site is 5,381 square feet. The existing impervious on site is 626 square feet, and the proposed impervious is 946 square feet. The impervious calculations were based off of the house and the carport area. We did not include the deck within the calculation. And I did some approximate numbers. So it's going to be a 320 square feet increase in impervious. So this is going to be a 5.9% increase in impervious area within the buffer zone, which is over the 5% threshold for the stormwater. I did, based on NOAA Atlas 14, so 7.7 inches, 100-year event, 24-hour period. Existing conditions, it will approximately displace 3,000 gallons of water over that 24-hour period. Post construction, it's 4,500 gallons over a 24-hour period, approximately 600 cubic feet of water. If there's any questions from the commission.
Kyle, can you just reduce that a little bit and show us the 0 to 50? I can see the 100, but I don't see if there's a 50 line in there.
Yeah, so the 50 line is, if you can see my cursor right here.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
just for future reference, when you submit, even whether if it's on your screen, they need to be colored.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's good. Commissioners, questions?
Is there any work related to the septic being proposed, or is the septic remaining as is?
Septic is remaining as is.
Do you
Is there
need to, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead.
So you just discussed all the the water calcs, excuse me. I mean, is there means and mechanism of handling that additional water? What I don't.
Currently, no, there's nothing proposed.
Are you going to try and do any roof drain, like dry wells or anything?
We can do a drip line trench if that would be okay with the commission. So I did some rough numbers on that as well. I'm not an engineer, but so if we did a drip line trench along the left side, the front, and the right side of the house, that's approximately 100 feet, linear feet. And if it's a 1.5 feet wide by 1.5 feet deep and then filled with gravel, without the gravel, it would be 625 cubic feet that would accommodate. I'm not sure what the calculation would be for with gravel, but I think that would be able to hold the majority of the water, if not all of it, and allow it to infiltrate on site.
So outside of so your new footprint is adding a carport, adding a proposed deck, changing the driveway, and expanding the house a little bit, correct?
Yes.
There is no driveway, right?
There's proposed gravel parking area, but that's outside the 100-foot buffer zone. And then the parking will be within the carport, and there's no driveway, paved driveway associated with that. It'll just be gravel.
What are the contours like? Is anything from the driveway going to come down towards the water, or is it flat?
It's pretty dead flat, that site.
Do you have a photograph that you'd like to share, Kyle?
I don't have any, and it would take me a little bit to get one up.
Commissioners,
No.
questions? You want to do a site walk? What's your pleasure?
I have a question. Lakeshore Drive, where it says edge of pavement, are there any, does that water edge of pavement, does it flow down to any catch basins?
So there is a catch basin approximately where this 80-foot mark is along the property line.
On the edge of pavement, Lakeshore Drive?
Yeah, right on the edge of pavement right here.
So that would catch additional water. I'm not sure where it dumps into. Does it dump into the lake? No idea.
Yeah, there is a culvert near A6, A7. I would assume that's what it goes to.
Yeah.
So that's obviously something that we would need to know is which way that is flowing as well. Commissioners, questions? You do have a hand up, but we'll go through the commissioners' questions first. Are we capturing any of I know you're changing the gravel for the area for your carport. And then if you did add one drain, is the roof just asphalt proposed?
I believe the roof is metal roof.
Okay. And it's all going to be vegetated around the perimeter of the house?
There's no landscaping plan currently.
So I guess my question is, it all kind of comes back to the flush that might come from the roof and from the property, kind of just going across the pavement right into the lake.
Michelle, is there any plan for landscaping on site?
So there's already trees along Forest to Lakeshore Drive. Those already exist. And there is a garden which will temporarily, probably just for moving, be lifted and then placed back in, that absorbs a fair amount of water during the summer season. That's
Michelle,
right.
can I just ask you to give your full name?
Michelle McDevitt.
Thank you.
But there's shrubs all along Forest Drive, from the corner of the house all the way down, and also in the far back corner, left corner lot. And those
That's where the carport's going to be?
The carport, there's like 2 shrubs that we pulled out for the carport entrance. So what you see is planning on staying if you do walk the land.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions?
It is flat.
Okay. Commissioners, questions? You want to set a site walk? What are your thoughts? If you want to do a site walk, do you want anything staked, or do you want to do drive-by? What are your thoughts?
I would just prefer a drive-by. I think we can all, from my perspective, I could see what I need to see.
You want staked out the proposed deck?
That'd be helpful.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions on that? And we've got some raised hands. Lisa, I see you have your hand raised. If you would like to jump in and give your first and last name and your residence, that would be great.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to get my video. My computer's not working. I'm Lisa.
Yep.
I'm Lisa Pohl at 30 Juniper Road in Littleton, a neighbor of Michelle's, and I'm just curious about the Kyle Cormier, who not an architectural engineer. Don't these plans have to be approved by an engineer? And I'm also curious about he referenced that it's a full basement and it's not going to be a full basement anymore, and the displacement of water and it being so close to the lake, and that this large amount of water that's going to be, I guess, going into the lake. I'm just curious. It doesn't have to be approved by the town engineering department or go through people at the town for the renovation to be approved. I'm just curious.
Kyle, do you want to speak to that? Certainly, that has to be a plan that's going to go to the building department for sure.
Building department, that's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So great questions, Lisa. Yep, good questions. Lisa, Kyle, would you like to address any of those?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but So I believe the commission allows a plan stamped by a surveyor, which this is, and that's more than sufficient for this permitting process with the Conservation Commission. In regards to displacement of water with the basement, so actually the reduction, so it's about a 6 foot or 8 foot ceiling in the basement right now currently, so that would be displacing more water than the final proposed house, which is going to be a crawl space. So that would be actually improvement on the local groundwater.
Are you bringing material in for that? I mean, so that sounds like you're going to be filling the property then?
Yes.
I don't see how how that's an improvement. I don't understand. I'm just curious.
So Kyle,
So-
one thing that you're going to want to address is your erosion controls. If you're doing filling in that, so you're going to need a much more robust set of erosion controls that will, for the most part, encompass your property as well, coming up towards forest as well.
Okay. And more robust as in larger
Yeah.
wattles or
Yeah, and it's going to have to
footpaths?
it'll have to hook around on both sides as well.
Okay.
Commissioners, questions? It sounds as though that we all need to kind of have eyes on in order to have a first step on this. And Lisa, this is the first start of a process, so nothing would be determined tonight. So commissioners would go out and view the property. Commissioners, would you like to do a drive-by, or what would we like to do?
I think a drive-by is probably sufficient.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Okay. Michelle, you have a raised hand. Do you have a question?
More a statement. It's already been, the whole house design has been through the building commission, and this was brought before you 2 years ago. Now with a full building team, we, cut down on everything just to make sure we met as best we could.
Okay. So we have commissioners that were not on 2 years ago, so still taking a fresh set of eyes on this as well.
I will say that when the bill,
And it's just COVID. I'm just giving you a history. That's it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Okay.
the building
Amy?
permit application came in, Conservation Commission has to sign off on projects like this. So that's why I raised the fact that she needs an order of conditions.
Yeah.
Also, I'm new to the area, so I'm not placing any judgment or anything. I'm just.
No, we appreciate everybody's input. We want everyone to feel comfortable as well. Okay, so we're gonna carry on. We are going to, Kyle, with your permission, we will continue this to September 7th, and we will have commissioners give you input. And then when do you think you could have the proposed deck staked? Just some stakes out front.
Yeah, I mean, I can run out there and do it real quick, just using the plan. So
Okay.
probably by the end of the week.
Okay.
So just let me know and I'll, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Kyle, can you just let Amy know when they are in place, and then she'll send us all a message. Okay.
Yep,
Thanks
will
for all
So
coming.
you said September 7th?
Yeah, February.
February 7th. Sorry.
And could you explain how many more meetings this potentially could take?
One or many. So that's not something that we determine at this night. It really depends on questions and review from the commissioners once they're able to go outside on property. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and carry on. Thank you for attending. We're going to go ahead and open the 8 p.m. continued public meeting. Request for determination of applicability, 70 Mill Road, U 38-7-3, construction of an addition. Who's here to speak to 8 p.m.?
That would be me, Kristen Farr with Hancock Associates, representing Hollywood Interiors. The Hollywood Interiors representative is also here, Mark Harulis, in case there's questions about construction methodology. At the last meeting, the and site visit, the commission members asked for a few things. Is there a possibility I can share my screen?
Yes, go ahead, Kristen. Thank you for asking.
Oop, wrong one. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. One sec. Or not. Mhm. Try that. Nope. Amy, do you happen to have it handy? The plan, the revised plan?
Sarah, you might need to like allow her to share her screen.
Oh, okay.
Sarah might need to do that.
You should be able to share it.
That's not what I do.
You just hit the green share button.
Okay, sorry.
It's not letting me do that. Do you have a copy of the plan that was submitted to you? To Amy, do they have that?
I'm trying to see if I can find it and I'll email it to myself and I might be able to put it up, but it's going to take a bit.
Okay. I'll just try to talk through it in the meantime. So the commission wanted the construction access shown. We added an arrow from the driveway area pointing towards the back of the house, showing that the construction access will be that way. The stockpile has been located on the plan and outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. In the narrative of the RDA, I had stated that the foundation was going to be on piles, but it will be a frost wall. So that was just a clarification there. The commission had asked about the distance of the trees to the house, and they're about 25 to 26 feet from the addition to the trees. A note was added to the plan about putting an orange snow/construction fence around the tree in the corner. Yep. And then there was a question about how much impervious surface would be added. So we calculated that there would be 105 square feet within the buffer zone. I think I misinterpreted what the bylaw wording was, and Amy corrected me. But ultimately, it's 105 feet in the buffer zone. And an erosion control was added to the plan as well. With the detail to the left there. It's a filter sock. So I hope that addresses everything that the commission had been asking about. If there's any other questions, I'm here.
All right, commissioners, thoughts, comments for Kristen?
Where's the 100-foot buffer and the 50-foot buffer?
The 100 is the dash with the little circle, or the line with the circle. Yeah. And then the 50 is the double dot.
Okay. Thank you.
It's just on the fringe of the 100-foot buffer zone.
And Kristen, I presume you're here seeking a negative determination.
That would be the goal, yes.
Amy, do you feel comfortable with the plans as submitted?
I believe she answered all the questions that came up during the site walk.
Okay.
It is a relatively small area in what is now lawn.
Are there any commissioners that were on that walk that would like to address the new model for the plan?
I was on the walk. I feel comfortable with what's shown and what was on the ground. Yeah.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any other questions?
I mean, the one question I have or comment I have is just the location of the erosion controls. It seems like they're pretty far into the 100-foot. Is there a way that do they need to be that far? Because if we push them closer to the 50-foot, then they're going to use all the space that they're given to tracking their equipment and machinery, and then you're talking about more regrading, seeding, getting stuff to grow.
Yeah,
I know it's really nitpicky, but
that's a great point. Kristen, can you address that? Way to move that in?
I think I would ask Mark to weigh in on that because he's the one that will be supervising the construction as far as like how much space you may need here.
So looking at the erosion control, I mean, are you thinking, I mean, I'm not sure where we could get it that much closer. You get the stockpile area.
Can you re-highlight the stockpile area? Okay. Yep.
So I mean, it's just a swooping curve on the erosion control, and I don't think making it make of any sense to bring it closer to the driveway in that area. I mean, how much closer do you think you need it? I don't know. I can't see the distance. Looks like we're about, I mean, it's only 20 feet from the corner of the addition to the erosion control.
I agree with you on that. I agree with where the house is fine, but that you're 70 feet away from the existing tree in the driveway. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, typically you're going to have anywhere from 5 to 15 feet in terms of what the commission usually gives.
Gives for
construction
between the work.
Well, how are we
and the
supposed?
erosion control?
I guess my question would be, if you pull the erosion control 5 or 15 feet to the tree, and if I remember right, you asked for fencing around the drip line of the tree. I mean, we're running out of room to get a piece of equipment in to dig the hole. I mean, we need a certain amount of space. It's hard for me to tell going from that tree to the circle there. Let me just see if I can get a feel for the distance here.
I guess it's 50 feet. If that's the 50 foot to the 100-foot buffer right there, the erosion controls of the tree is about the same distance, right?
Yeah, we're pretty close. I mean, I don't know. I guess my question would be is, where do you need it? I mean, we have to have a certain amount of room to get equipment in and out.
Well, I understand that.
We've got to move material. Well, obviously we want to minimize, but the holes dug, we're going to move the material from the stockpile area. We need, I mean,
we look at limiting the disturbed area because we have to look at the worst case scenarios. Is that if all of a sudden you're impacted by weather and you have an open site, then we potentially look at, damage into the resource area. So we look at it as a containment value.
I understand that. I guess that's my question is you're asking, can the control be moved? How much closer do you want it?
Oh, can you hold this line here, but then take it, just because it's a good reference on the map, to this corner and then out?
Yes, that's doable. Certainly doable.
That means
That's
you're
a
really not
reasonable
any closer than
compromise.
75.
How about this? I mean, looking at this and the drawing and everything else, it also depends on the weather. But how about I make, because I don't mind moving stockpile even further out, or further away from the erosion control, closer to the driveway. I was in the erosion control. I don't make this space as minimal as possible for us to get a piece of equipment. No problem. So I can make that as, 40 feet from the tree. That's probably pretty close corner mark there.
Yeah, that's probably what we just discussed, right? Moving it up to that corner is probably that distance.
Yeah. I mean, 40 feet. I mean, 30, we can get in and out. I'm okay with erosion as tight as possible, but I don't, we don't know how much the branches have come out. I mean, site visit, it's kind of full tree there. So I don't hitting that in any shape or form.
Mark, not for nothing, but you're breaking up a lot.
I don't know how I can help this. That.
Okay, commissioners, what are your thoughts on that? So what I heard is that we're going to move back to the 2020.45 and then move the stockpile closer to the driveway.
Can I ask, closer to the driveway,
Meaning closer to the road where your where the dump trucks are coming in.
so,
The
So
erosion
more-
controls can
more
be different like
easterly?
that. Which way's north?
Yeah, so I put it on the plan, which would,
Yes, it would be more easterly.
yes, it would be
Okay.
easterly, correct. Yep.
all right, by like, how many feet? 50 feet, 20? Just so I can have the surveyor, adjust the plan.
Commissioners, what would you like?
The number I heard was 40 feet, we thought, so whatever
Okay,
it is to that point, right? And then we're gonna carry that around, is that the plan?
that's to move the stockpile, right? Closer to like the corner of the driveway, that point 222.13, like that way.
Yeah, my screen froze, unfortunately.
Yep, so I think we're moving the erosion control and then moving the stockpile closer to the entrance where the construction trucks will come in.
Okay,
We will take as much as you will give us.
Yeah.
I'll give you as much as I can.
Okay. All right, commissioners, what are thoughts? We need to have the plan revised and sent back to us.
I'd be okay with signing off on this and giving Amy the authority to review the final
Yeah,
version.
so whatever condition, yep.
Okay. All right, if that's the case, Amy, if you're comfortable with that, we'd accept the motion. You okay with that? Okay.
Yep, that's
Motion.
good.
Yep. Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we issue a negative determination for 70 Mill Road U 38-7-3.
Second. Would that be a -3?
Oh,
Three.
sorry, yeah, 3. Yeah, I forgot that every time.
With the changes that we
Yep.
discussed.
Yeah, with the
Yes.
condition changes on the plans.
Yep. Do we have a second?
Second.
Point.
Okay.
All right, roll call.
Roll.
Carl,
Carl Melberg, aye.
Sarah,
Sarah Seward, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Chase,
Chase Garvey guy.
Michael,
Michael Livingston, I.
Brian,
Brian Crowley, aye.
myself, I. It's unanimous.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen and Mark.
Thank
Amy,
you.
We'll
Thank
wait
you.
for
Good
your
luck.
revised plan. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna go open the 8:15 continued public hearing notice of intent 107 Mattawanakie. Mass DEP 204-921, construction of single-family house and septic system. Who's here to address that?
Peter Scott.
Hi, welcome, Peter.
Hi. How are you?
Good, all right. Floor is all yours. Do you have a screen that you'd like to share?
Similar to you, I don't do that stuff. Haven't got a clue. Amy has a print of the proposed property. It's been in my family since 1965 and was subdivided in 1949. It permits me a few things out of the ordinary where I can actually build right up to the lot line on all sides. What I'm looking for is to build a single family home with the septic system, which is designed. It needs a small, I think 1 or 2 small variances which are not drastic in their requirement. And the other thing, over the years, lost some land down by the waterfront. I'm not looking to recover it. I'm just looking for a little bit of leeway in this sense. I've got the wattles set up from the original drawings and such. The house is going to change a little bit, not a real lot, but it'll still fit inside the footprint that is being shown on this print. So I'm looking to have you approve the wattles.
So Peter, can you see what Amy is sharing on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Amy, do we have a plan that shows where the house and septic would go?
It's right there on the print now. It's on the
left-hand side here,
Left, okay.
but it sounds like it may have changed, so.
The only thing that would have changed at all is just the possible footprint of the house. That's all, but it's still virtually in the exact same place. See, because of the septic system and from the road, the setbacks for that, then that's where the house has to start for the most part, by staying outside of the treatment area.
And are you in front of the Board of Health presently?
We filed for going in front of the Board of Health. Ted Doucette is the the contract or the engineer. So he's filed for that, and we've been in discussions with the Board of Health, and it looks pretty well, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, commissioners, questions? So we do have some new commissioners. I'm not sure that everybody's been out on site, so we'll just go through and see what people's questions are. Are utilities and water and everything on this plan?
The utilities there's already power on the property now. The water line will come down the right-hand side as you're looking at it, and it's going to be town water. It'll go down the right-hand side of the property.
Okay. And when was the wetlands flagged?
They flagged it for the last time you did your walk by. I mean, obviously now it'd be much lower because the water's lower, but I don't know, May, June, July, somewhere around there. Do you recall, Amy?
No, I don't.
All right, we had
But the wetland line won't change because of the water dropped.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, commissioners, questions? I know it's hard to see this plan, but.
The delineation was October 2020.
Okay.
I recall last time we were looking at this plan, Sarah, there was a discussion of the trees, particularly within the buffer zone and so on, that would need to be removed. Have those been updated? Because my standing there on site, looking at that that figure, it doesn't square, I think, with my recollection of the site. Do we know if all of the trees have been marked on the plan set, or is that only a select number? Because last time it was only a select number.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking whoever has an answer.
I haven't marked all of the trees for removal. I want to leave as many as I possibly can, but there's obviously some that will be disturbed. So as far as marking the trees, anything within inside the foundation line of that or in the septic design area, which are only about 5 trees in reality. So and I'm waiting to get a crane to come in and take them down, but obviously I don't want to take anything down prematurely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we requested an inventory of trees that needed to be removed.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, that was something that Matt Marrow was working on. They did do the inventory at first without species and size, and then he added the species and size information on there.
Okay,
Good,
so
yeah.
that has been updated based on a recent survey.
Yeah, well, not that recent, but I would have to go back and double check if there's, trees down in here that weren't picked up. I think this had all the trees.
As you scroll over, are the wetlands flags over on the left side of that plan? I just can't see it.
They're down here,
Okay.
just below the green line.
So some point I'll catch up on this. Peter, what was that exemption or something that you talked about early on that allowed you to put this house within the 50?
The house was the property was subdivided in basically 1949, and it permits a few other things. One, again, going right up to the lot line. I'm trying to do as much, again, the lot is not huge, but it's obviously everything is legal. The town attorney's gone over it and everything else, and it's just now trying to get this, to fit in. And as far as the commission is concerned, and I'm looking to see if they would like anything more than the wattles that are shown here. And there's an attorney looking into it also for some other variances, but for the most part, everything is there. I've met everything short of some working within the 50-foot buffer range. That's my only real issue right now.
My understanding is that, notwithstanding that there may be some lot line variances that I don't know anything about, there's nothing historical that supersedes our bylaw. Our bylaw is in full effect here.
So our 50-foot bylaw is in full effect, Chase? Is that what you just said?
That is my understanding, correct?
I haven't heard anything from town council to counter that.
So that's kind of where I was trying to get to. I just didn't understand the earlier discussion.
How big is the lot?
7,500 square feet, I believe, or geez, I should know by now. It's 125 feet deep, 50 feet on the water, and 75 feet on the road.
And there's no driveway or parking?
I'm incorporating the garage inside that footprint. I'm going to go put a garage on the left-hand side. It's all part of the house.
So there's a
Inside.
driveway over here somewhere? Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Proposed.
I'm sorry. There will be a driveway. I thought you
Yeah.
said a garage, but yeah, right there is where I intend the driveway to come down.
So Amy, your first light green is your 50 further up?
Down here, yes.
Okay.
And here's the hundreds up here by the road.
Yep. Okay. So a third of I can't see that. A third of the house is in the first 50?
Probably more than a third if you count the cantilever deck.
Amy, can you scroll over? No,
To,
other way. Just to drag it over. So that we can see the footprint of the house.
This hashing is the footprint of the house.
Yep.
plus the cantilever and a slab foundation.
So the cantilever is 12 by 32.
Yes.
How is that? So that's just mounted to the side of the house.
Yes, I'm going to, I'll use steel that comes across the top of the foundation and set it back inside so that there's no disturbing underneath it whatsoever. There'll be no sonotubes, none of that. The ground will remain pervious.
And that cantilever, is that just like an open deck or is that an enclosed?
No, open deck, open.
Okay.
So, Sarah, we've had cantilevers before come in front of us, and we denied them.
Yep, I know.
I just want to.
Yep. No, I know, and they weren't even as close as this one. Yep.
What is that third green dash line right at the edge of the cantilever deck? Yeah, that one.
Cool. Amy, go back.
So, yep. What's that line?
Looks like just a contour line.
Could be the 25, maybe. I don't know. It's not labeled.
Commissioners have questions?
A waiver request was submitted, but I think it's been a while since I looked at it, more dealt with for the 1949 issue, not really the public purpose. And I have not seen any stormwater stuff on this.
Okay. I think before we ask to do a site walk and have everything staked out, just not to continue to incur time, it would be good to address some of those other items first before.
It's already been staked out again and completely in any of the.
And the cantilever there as well?
No, I believe the entire the outline of the entire project is on there. I'll go down tomorrow and check on it. Well, yeah, I had a knee replaced and it didn't go very well, so I'm gonna have to get one of my kids to go down there and measure it. But I was under the impression we had the entire area staked out, the corners, the lot lines, the septic system, everything that you did for the last walkthrough. Isn't that correct, Amy?
That sounds right to me. I'm not sure if they'd still be there or not, but that's correct.
Well, hopefully nobody's tearing up my stakes, because that's a federal offense, isn't it?
So there are commissioners here that are new that haven't seen it as well. So
Okay.
what are the thoughts for the commission? Peter, who's your engineer now?
Ted Doucette.
Okay. Is he able to meet on your behalf on the property?
I'm sure if I asked him to, who's the engineer? They're over in Westford. But I'm sure Ted would be able to meet if it was necessary.
Okay. Commissioners, what would you like to do? Well, I guess we need to just, if one of your sons could confirm to Amy that all the stakes are still there.
Okay.
I think we've got to do a couple of things here, Sarah. I mean, if we need to set up a site walk, that's fine. But in my opinion, the waiver doesn't address the bylaw adequately. And I think the applicant needs to be directed to revise the waiver and address not just the applicant's contention regarding the historic subdivision and so on of the property, but the plain reading of the language of the waiver, because right now it doesn't address those things. And without that information, we certainly can't reach a determination about whether or not it's in the public interest and to avoid a taking and so on.
Regardless of the whether 1949, the subdivision of it creates a hardship or not, or whatever it does determine, on its own merit is what I'm actually kind of looking for right now. If I need to reduce the size of the cantilever, the deck or something, I could do that. I mean, it's obviously one of the nicest attribute to the property, being able to look out at the lake.
It is an alteration of the footprint of the property on the table, because my recollection is the last time we discussed this, that was a hard no.
I'm open to, I want to build a home for myself there. I mean, the one I'm in now is, the taxes are killing me. So I would like to move down there, and if there's some leeway that you people are looking for, I'm willing to accept something. But as far as I mean, I need some form of a deck back there. If it reduces the size of it, instead of being the full width, it's just as slightly wider than a sliding glass door, say it's 12 by 8. I mean, I'm not having parties out there. I'm a little old for that stuff now, so I'd be looking
I think, yeah. And Peter, I think what Chase is trying to say, that the waiver kicks in once you're at that 50, the 0 to 50. So when you're looking at anything, whether it's a cantilever or anything, any building, once you're at the negative 50, then it kicks in. And so I think that's why they're asking to look at a revisal of the waiver language.
Or a revision of the building plan. So, I mean, if the applicant is willing to revise the plan such that the structure and the deck is outside of the 50, this becomes a very different project for us to review. And I'm, for the applicant's sake, I don't want to give sort of false hope here. I really don't see a pathway to approve this under the waiver, speaking solely for myself. And
Who's
if
speaking now?
Well, as a member of the commission, but not as on behalf of the entire commission, I don't see.
I can't see who's speaking. Who is talking now?
Chase Gerben, Peter.
Okay. You're an attorney, right?
No, sir. Just an engineer.
Okay. So what else? So coming back to commissioners, when we're looking at the waiver is an issue, the proximity and the depth of the building on the footprint, what are some other things that are of concern that you can share with Peter?
Well, I think controlling the water on that downhill heading to the lake, it looks like a fairly substantial slope.
Okay, so we have to look at stormwater, which I believe Amy commented has not been submitted.
Right. Even if this project was fully outside of the 50, I think there's a lot of questions about the amount of impervious area and where does that water go? And how do we prevent it from eroding the bank down into the river or down into the lake?
This looks like a tremendous amount of cut would have to take place.
Right. So Peter, these are just things to put on your kind of to-do list.
Again, I can appreciate your concerns there. I will put in a water collection system put gutters up, which I hate gutters. I think they're the worst thing you can possibly put on a house. But I can do that, and I call them graves, the water retention underneath the ground with stone and into that, so that it's a 2-minute perk right there, so it's obvious that the water will go down into the soil with very little issues. So I can do that for you. Excuse me.
I was going to say I'd like your engineer to render an opinion on that. Just because we put it into the ground with this slope doesn't mean it's not going to daylight 20 feet away and introduce the exact same issue just a little farther from the house.
Okay, commissioners have any other input or concerns that you want to share?
Is the proposed dock, is it a permanent dock or a seasonal dock?
There's a dock there presently.
Oh, presently, okay.
That's the existing dock.
Thank you. Is that a permanent dock?
It doesn't have, it's floating. It's a floating dock, so can be moved, that type of thing.
Amy, I think where we have a lot of buildings with docks and that, we may want to ask that, because Carl brings up there are some that are permanent docks and some that are, seasonal or floating. So when we get other projects in, it might be nice for them to clarify which type of dock they are going forward.
Yeah, and how or if it's connected to the shoreline.
Sure. Okay.
I assume, does the plan need updating? It sounds like the plan has changed.
Yep.
Well, as far as updating, you'd like to see the stormwater.
But you said this is not the current plan?
That is the current plan. Nothing's changed.
So that's the one that the Board of Health has.
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't see it, but I think you need the driveway on here somewhere.
Yep.
Well,
And utilities. Are utilities on there?
it has electricity already.
I meant on the plan, sorry.
Oh, I'm not sure if he drew it on. It runs down the left-hand side of the property now.
Like that's the utility pole right there,
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
existing. So
The driveway's on there. The driveway's that solid line, and it's
Yeah.
proposed bit concrete.
Yes.
Where's that?
It has the limits to two
there.
solid lines.
All right. I get it. This. Thank you.
And as far as the water is concerned, it'll go down the right-hand side of the property. Again, it's something I can put it anywhere I want, but of course, that's where I'm presently looking to install the town water down the right-hand side.
Right, because that's in a resource area that has to be definitely noted on the plan as well.
Sure. Okay. Stormwater cut, water line marked out. And it does have the driveway, so you don't need that.
Yeah.
And that should be it, right? And you have the inventory of trees. So the only thing you need from me is some form of a stormwater control after the house is built. Does that sound
No,
consistent?
that's done prior to construction.
Okay, stormwater prior.
We need an
That was
update
one
of
of
the
the
waiver
things-
showing how it meets the requirements of the waiver.
Right.
Right. That's first and foremost, I think, in my opinion as well.
And the stormwater management plan will take probably an engineer to do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, so that's over in addition to what I've drawn here for what we have for Waddles presently, correct? That's over and above this?
Well, the stormwater management plan is always required.
Okay.
So that's something your engineer, if it's Ted, can certainly help you with.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so Peter, we meet again on February 7th and then on February 21st. With your permission, we would continue this. Do you have thoughts of when you would like to have it continued to?
I really like to, move this along as fast as I can, and it seems every time I give somebody 3 weeks, they take 4. So I'm gonna say February 7th, please,
Okay.
and jump on the,
And so then Amy will tell you what time that will be, and
Sure.
then, but the things to look at revising your waiver, potentially moving the house, stormwater management, adding the water line, and those things to address for the next meeting.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Just one last thing where you say as far as moving the house, I really don't have a whole bunch of leeways when it comes to moving, where the house sits on the property from the front of it. I can't go in closer to the septic systems. So and then the only difference I could possibly do is the depth of the building. And even
I only reference that because that's a conversation you and Chase were having in terms of the waiver or moving the house
Okay.
or reducing the size. Okay.
I
All
will,
right.
Sarah, if I may say one other thing, we're getting really close to losing quorum on this. Right now, only 4 people can vote. So I think going forward, we need to be careful if Peter comes in and there's not a quorum, then the project's gonna have to be refiled.
Who are the four people that can vote?
Who are the four people? It's Kyle and Chase, and I think you, Carl, and Brian?
I think I can too, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, and that was a reminder as well. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and scoot on. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, Commission.
Okay, it's 8:50. We're gonna open up the 8:45 continued public hearing notice of intent. 265, 277, 287, 289 Great Road and 25 Robinson Road. Mass DEP 204-0976, redevelopment of 1 residential and 4 commercial properties in a commercial plaza.
Except you skipped the 8:30 for 35 Queen.
Oh, it's probably because I wrote notes on it. Okay, back up. We're going back to the 8:30. Sorry. All right, 8:30 continued public hearing notice of intent 35 Queen, and that's Mass DEP 204-0937, house demolition as required by the building inspector. Sorry, my error. 8:30. Who's here to address that?
Good evening, Nick Pollan from Goldsmith Press and Ringwell. How's everyone doing?
Good, thanks.
Mind if I share my screen and we can kind of pick up where we left off?
Yep, please go ahead. Thank you for asking.
So this is 35. Oops, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
This is 35 Queen. This is 35 Queen. It's at the end of Ipswich Drive. This is something that was filed, and we've had previous conversations about. Relatively tough site. Buried the lead there. Since the last time we've met, we've been able to GIS locate the wetland flags and the existing house. We've overlaid that on the plan that was filed with the original, with this application before our involvement. This is the 2014 plan in black and white that you're seeing. Everything in red on top is the new thing. So what you'll notice is WF1, 2, 3, 3B, 4 wrapping around to 9 to 13, and then the wetland system in the back of the existing house located here, coming out and around, again coming out. So these flags were flagged by Matt Morrow. We did 2 site walks on, I believe, the end of October, the 27th, I believe. And this is just a plan that kind of monuments what was walked and adjusted that day. And then survey located. My office has not done a boundary survey. We have not been able to do soil testing either. So at this point, we wanted to provide kind of a graphical representation of what the commission has seen previous to what the flags were that we walked that day. At this point, we previously mentioned that the application as filed was just for the demolition of the house. We had expressed interest in modifying that application to include the reconstruction of the existing house, along with the yet to be designed septic system for the property. Again, without soil testing, we're unable to design that system as a yet. So we'd like to request a continuance for a decent amount of time out on the commission schedule, and I can certainly limp the application along or answer any specific questions the commission has about the locus plan of the BV, the flags that were reviewed. That's being shared now.
Nick, can you just go through the ones, and I know we had different site walks, which flags were the ones that were moved? I know.
So
I know 2 of them.
Yeah, 3B was added. That's at the outlet of the existing culvert underneath the gravel access path. I believe wetland flag 12 was moved from approximately where my hand was outward towards the original former wetland flag 11 over in this corner. So that was 1, 2. I believe wetland flag 11A was added. I remember getting sent into the pricker bushes by Amy for that one.
Of course.
And I think those are the 3 that I remember.
Wasn't there one down by wetlands, like 5A or 4A down below, to the bottom of your cursor, that page.
It may have been these two. The open well was right around here.
Okay, so Nick, going forward, can you plot, I think that's one thing that we did ask, was that to put that well on, because it would be disabled at some point, correct or not?
Yes. When we revise the application, we'd be looking to grab town water.
Okay, so if you could add that.
Yes,
that would be
there's
great.
so again, the plan that you're looking at right now, not knowing where the boundary limits are, we located the stone wall on the left-hand side of the property, the house and the wetland flags via GPS themselves. So we understand we owe a full existing conditions survey with all those features shown.
Nick, when we were out there, I didn't look very closely at the, I don't know, it was north up, let's say the southwest part of the site. We sort of stop at wetland flag 1A. Even though clearly we go somewhere, do we know where the wetlands go to the south or to the west of wetland flag 1A?
So the original 2014 show that it continues generally in a straight line. If you notice the DNC flag here, that was a general area where it was in the vegetation and starting to go uphill. So that would certainly be a potential question on where, if this extends this way or continues to come down that way.
The reason I pick that out is because it does change to some extent where your 50-foot offset is off of that on the western. Again, I think north is up here.
I don't want to bury the lead with you, Chase. This is a 10 scale plan. So the buffer zones you're seeing here are 25 foot.
25 foot, even better. Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I don't know as we need to have that flagged right now, but we should recognize that you probably have a little, even less land to the west there than you actually show right now.
I agree. We can rectify that. I think that any application is going to utilize all aspects of the Wetlands Protection Act and your bylaws.
I guess that's kind of why I pick it out, because every square inch of non-wetland space here is.
Yep. And that's also, again, we're using the house where that is relative to the boundary. If the stone wall actually holds as the property line, I don't know.
Commissioners, other questions or comments? We do have a race, but we will go through the commissioners.
This is Carl. I got a question. So the B and C line that was originally down, the new line moved closer to the existing house.
Here, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
2A, 3A, 4A.
Yep.
And then what is the dashed line just above there? It says proposed addition. Yep. What is that?
That was the proposed addition from the original 2014 plan. This dash doubled. What's that?
The red line?
No, the red line is the 25-foot buffer from the red wetland flag.
And the red,
so 25 feet to 7A, 25 feet to 8A,
okay.
5, 7.
And then the proposed addition, that was the original proposed addition in black?
That was on the 2014 plan, yes.
Okay.
Nick, going forward, can you work on the color coding on these plans as well? So we have a code for them.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Once I produce an actual plan, I would love to provide it in the format your regulations request.
Is there a basement in this existing building?
No,
there isn't. Okay.
Yeah, swimming pool if it was.
That was my next. That was my next question.
Nick, how long do you think you need to get your house in order here? I mean, I'm speaking solely for myself. I'm not interested in seeing something half baked. I'm up for giving you whatever you need to to get this squared away. But what do you think that is?
You know, the soil testing that was done in 2014 is on the western side of the property, and obviously it's, you know, 3 feet away from wetland flag number 9. I'm looking to do soil testing out in front of the house, try to utilize as much of that 25-foot upland area as possible. If we keep having a relatively mellow winter like this, I'm hoping that we may be able to actually get some testing done May, June. But it's really going to be a case of, I'd like to try to give it an actual perk test. So obviously March, April into May traditionally is not the most conducive times to high groundwater sites and percolation tests. The testing that was done in 2014 on the western side of the property was done in the middle of September. And they took a sieve analysis. So I don't know if they tried to run a perk or not. Basically what I'm saying is I'd like to wait till some warmer weather when the water's down before I try to do a perk test. I'll take a sieve analysis if I have to at that time. And I'm hoping to have a design shortly thereafter. So I'd like to ask the commission for a continuance until, I believe you have a meeting June 20th currently.
I think what you could say is
That's the last one on the
end of May, because the calendar may flux. So we'd say middle to end of May, whenever that meeting is, Nick.
That would be fine. Yes.
Okay. Quick question. Access. I know there's, I don't know how substantial that culvert is. In order for you to get in, do you need any requirements to get into the property?
As far as equipment or?
Yep. To do your tests in the spring.
No, I don't think so. I think the equipment that we would use in the spring has already been over that culvert to kind of board up the house.
Okay.
We wouldn't be bringing in a large machinery.
Okay. Commissioners, you have a hand up with someone who's representing us. Lisa, if you would like to jump on and identify yourself, first and last name and where you reside, that would be great.
Okay, I'm Lisa Pohl in 30 Juniper Road in Littleton. I just overheard that it has not been professionally surveyed, and I wonder if that is a factor like that needs to be addressed before anything can go forward. If it's not professionally surveyed, I don't know.
Nick, the question is addressed to you.
Sure, I can answer that. So, unfortunately, my firm, Goldsmith, Preston, Ringwald, got involved in this application after it was filed. The plan that you're looking at, everything black and white that you're looking at on the screen right now, was included in that most recent application, but it was actually done from a filing in 2014 done by another engineering firm.
Okay, so has that expired, or like
we will be doing a full boundary survey of the property and updating in existing conditions. This application right now only covers, or when it was filled out, only covered the demolition of the existing house, which is relatively inappropriate for what they actually want to do on the property, which is reconstruct the dwelling as well as put in a septic system to support that dwelling. So there will be a plan before the commission moves forward that has the boundaries professionally surveyed and a professionally engineered septic system. The boundary will be required for some of the relief items that we will be asking for from Title V and the Board of Health regulations themselves. So
that'll all be presented when whenever the next meeting is. Is that correct?
The next meeting that we discuss this application, yes.
Okay.
And
just
Lisa,
to give you a heads up,
you're probably going to go say the same thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that Nick is giving us, this is an update for us. Nick has come in before and discussed this project, and at this point is just updating us on where they stand, and as you've heard, is looking to extend it. So he's not trying to, receive any sort of work conditions or anything from us this evening. He's just giving us an update on where the project stands and where it's going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Lisa, it's not uncommon to have continued hearings come in, give us an update, and so we all try and make sure we're on the same path. So that way, no one's really disappointed in really lack of transparency. So, okay, Nick, anything else? So I think what we're hearing, Amy, is that we're going to connect to once we have our dates for June established, we'll review with Nick and put you on that agenda.
That'll be June 20th.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If I understand you have new commission members, the application's staying open. If you'd like to visit the site, I can make myself available, or Amy can certainly take them out there. We reinforced all the wetland flags with 1x1 wooden stakes after those site walks, so they should still be surviving even if the flags haven't. So now that we have the locusts and the plans, we feel comfortable as these move forward with the kind of prolonged permitting process.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick.
Nick, I've got you one quick question on that open cistern or whatever it was to the southeast. Is that secure and safe? Like nobody's fallen in that, right?
No one's called me asking for help to get out of it. I can certainly double check. I know that it was requested and we conveyed that to the owner.
I think you got all the time in the world to do the plans you need, but let's make sure that's not a safety hazard for somebody in the community.
I will reiterate the request.
Yeah, because the commissioners were very concerned with that, for sure. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. It is 9:06. We're now going to open the 8:45 continued public hearing notice of intent 265-277-287-289 Great Road and 25 Robinson Road, Mass DEP 204-0976. Redevelopment of 1 residential and 4 commercial properties into a commercial plaza. And then also, commissioners, you'll know that Amy has sent tree calculations in the ILSF as well, which are in your notes. Who is here to speak to this?
I'm here. I'm Steve Riberty, senior ecologist at Goddard Consulting. Brian Jones is also here, and Sean Maloney is also with us tonight, the engineer for the project. So, yeah, so this is, I guess we're going to give an update on where things stand. It's been a couple hearings since we've been on. I think at the last hearing, we were discussing having trees marked in the field that were going to remain within the ILSF. We've since done that. I believe there was a field walk that had happened several weeks ago, and it was open for the commission to come out anytime they want and view the marked trees. So in total, I think there's 82 total trees in the ILSF. 24 are marked that are staying. 58 are being cut. We've updated the landscaping plans. I think that was presented at the last meeting, where we have, substantial number of plantings going in, 133 deciduous plantings and 165, if I remember right, evergreen plantings going into the ILSF. And also, since that last hearing, we hired a licensed invasive species professional and had them prepare a invasive species management plan for the site. Obviously, Japanese knotweed is a concern out there. That's probably the primary invasive on site, but there's also garlic mustard, bittersweet, buckthorn, burning bush, multiflora, a couple other handfuls of some smaller stuff. But we've got a pretty comprehensive invasive species control plan that would go along with the proposed project. It has pre-construction phase where a lot of things are kind of removed. The bulk removal happens then. There's a during construction phase where things are treated during construction, and a post-construction phase, which is 3 to 5 years of monitoring and treatment as needed to control the invasive species on the site. So that's been provided to the commission. That's been probably several weeks ago that was formally submitted. So there's those 2 new pieces of information. I believe we're still waiting on the peer review. I don't know if there's any update on that tonight on the stormwater. And that's kind of where everything stand right now. So I don't know if Sean and Brian, you want to kind of add anything else in and kind of just, I guess, have a discussion of where things are and what the next steps are.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. This is Sean Malone from Oak Consulting Group. Yeah, as Steve had mentioned, we're just waiting for the final response to it. We got the peer review comments from Green back in early December. We refiled the plans with additional information and a response to those comments just before the holiday. So we're waiting for where they're at with those plans. We've also gotten to a point with the planning board that they've asked Marin, the town planner, to prepare a draft list of conditions for an approval of the project. So we're really hoping to wind this down, and we know that the peer review is outstanding, and certainly want to continue with this commission with any other outstanding questions or discussion that they want to have. But our hope is that at the end of this meeting that you could direct your agent to draft an order for your consideration at the next meeting once you get peer review back in. So that's kind of where we stand. I'll stop talking now, and Madam Chair, certainly welcome any questions or comments from the commission.
Commissioners, questions? I just had a few in terms of potential signage in the area. And in terms of removal for invasives, if it's going to be annually or twice a year, just had some questions in terms of addressing some of the invasives. So commissioners, questions?
Is there a plan of the development where the trees are staying? You got like probably 30% of your trees are staying. Is there any development around those trees that are remaining?
Does anyone have a plan that they would like to share?
We have the landscape plan. I don't know if you can share it, Sean. But yeah, it shows the trees that are staying, I believe.
Is there a design plan yet, or no? We're still ahead of the design plan?
Oh no, the site has been fully designed with engineering plans as well as landscape plans.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind showing me that area where the trees are remaining, the 30% of the trees.
Yes, let me do that. If I may, share my screen.
Yes, thank you for asking.
All right, so this this symbol right here, kind of the stickly one, this is the symbol for existing trees, and I apologize, it might be kind of hard to see with some of the other new evergreens, but these are all trees to remain, all along the boundary here to remain. We have a grove in here, and along the boundary here, and then over in this area, these are to remain. And this is all within that area of the ILSF. So this would also be enhanced with that the invasives removal that Steve was just talking about, and then also planted with additional evergreens and deciduous trees.
Well, and I'll mention too, we're also, I forgot to mention, in addition to the new plantings, we're going to be relocating some of the smaller trees, if they're kind of saplings and such that are in the impact area. We'll move them back into the part of the ILSF that we're keeping. And some of those are the silver maples and the box elder, some of the more unique trees that are kind of out on this site. You know, we'll be able to, some of the smaller ones of those, we'll be able to kind of keep and, you know, use the bigger equipment and kind of dig them up and move them back into some more, you know, areas where they can survive and remain on the site.
Steve, this might be in the plan somewhere, but do you guys have a survivability threshold that you'll meet there? And remedial action you'll take if you don't hit the survivability threshold?
No, I don't think we have that. We can certainly set one, and I mean, we didn't know if there was going to be any stipulation on like long-term monitoring, but if there's anything like that, we can kind of set something for the translocated / planted material and see, you know, I mean, obviously they're going to be out there for a couple of years doing invasive controls.
I'm pretty good with things here, Sarah. That was the only thing I wanted to see was a recognition of the fact that, we want this to be in the town does a long-term sort of remedy, and a bunch of dead trees doesn't get us there. I'm sure Steve and Sean, your client, doesn't want to see that either, but
Oh, no.
I'd like to see something like that memorialized and what we're doing.
And I
Yeah,
think
I mean-
Amy and I had talked a little bit about that in terms of the longevity, 3 to 5 years. Historically, some of the other commissioners may know what kind of our unfortunate death rate is. I know at times it's up to upwards of 30%. So I think we would want to establish a bar with that. I did have a question for the commissioners, and it's a different type of thought process. So if we set the monitoring for 3 to 5 years, and once we understand what that monitoring looks like for success of managing the invasives, at the end of the life of that monitoring, if it still is not where it needs to be based on the commitment that the development has made, is there language that can be supported to roll that a few more years to make sure that invasives isn't just done the best they can for a few years, but to kind of carry on that monitoring? So I asked that question to the commissioners.
I think that's a great idea, Sarah. I would support that. I think 3 years of monitoring is a great starting point, but I think that we very much need to see where we are at the end of that 3 years, and possibly extend that depending on the conditions that we're seeing at the site.
Would that be a quantitative or a qualitative metric that we use to determine success?
And that is a great question. So that's kind of where I am at.
And for the planted tree survivability, 75% is kind of typical for a wetland creation area. So that's probably a good one for this.
That's what I was going to suggest myself. So
yeah, for the invasive species control, Steve, I don't know if you have any rubrics to determine what acceptable success would be.
we're going to do pre-survey, so we're going to establish a
Right.
basic condition. So we'll know, we'll have good maps and densities of what's out there where before things start. We could set some. I mean, it's a developed site with development around. It's going to be impossible to keep all invasives out, forever. But it's the whole point is to get it under control so the native stuff can kind of take over and kind of be the more dominant species out there, host of species. But yeah, I could talk to the invasive guy that came up with the plan and see if he's got some number in mind when he was developing the plan on what it should look like in the end. But I'm sure that's something we can easily figure out.
Chase, does that answer your question?
In so much as that we're going to ask somebody with expertise what they think. Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't.
We could certainly come up with something. I don't know if we just want to set a standard. If whatever's there, where there's no more than 10% of it left, or 20% of it left, or certain species are completely eradicated, but other ones can still persist in low densities, just because it might be more detrimental to fully try to eradicate it, because you're going to be hitting native stuff to try to eradicate every garlic mustard or something that's out there.
Does anyone have any thoughts on signage, like sensitive areas or things like that? We've not asked for that for this particular development.
You could have signage along the back of the parking lot. How are you going to handle trash that blows into that area, which they'll most likely be?
That will probably be in the order of conditions. I would think that's kind of like a twice a year review of that. Dumpsters will have to be covered at all times.
So another question. So is that a wall of evergreens that you have planted along Robinson Road there?
There's a mixture of evergreens and deciduous. We talked to the neighbors along Robinson quite a few times, and they were pretty adamant that they want to see a lot of evergreens there. There's also a fence along there, a cedar solid wall fence. So it's a mixture of a bunch of stuff.
when you say evergreens, what was the specific species of evergreen, and tall evergreen or a short evergreen, or is it a what is that?
There's a variety. There's some 8 to 10 foot Fraser fir. There's some 8 to 10 foot red cedars. We have some white spruce there and some white pine. So we really make an effort not to make a monoculture here, really diversify the planting and still provide the screening that those abutters want.
Sean, can I ask you a quick question? Is the power line on that side of the road or the other side of the road? I don't recall. I'm just thinking as we're planting all those trees, is that where the power line is?
Yeah, I believe it's the other side of the road. We do have one pole towards where the bank is going to go, but then that's fed from the other side of the road, I believe. Whoop. No, I stand corrected. Nope, there it is there. Nope, the power line is along our side, but it's right on the edge of pavement. And all of these plantings are on our property. So we're not going to have a conflict with the power lines there. We're probably a good 10, 15 feet away from the power lines, I would say.
So can you just remind me, does it go fence, tree, power, or tree, fence?
So yeah, it goes edge of pavement, power, then kind of a grassed area. Then we have the existing stone wall, and then we'll have tree, fence, tree. So it's kind of on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
So just for the record, at least me, and can't speak for the commission, but I just don't want to go on record as agreeing that the current diversity of trees that you have out there do not support a diversity of bird life. I had heard that at one of the meetings, and we're not in agreement, at least I'm not in agreement with that statement. And I think it's important that be on the record, because I do believe that the current trees are providing a wealth of habitat for a diversity of bird species.
But we certainly saw that on the site walk we were on. I think we were counting how many species were there that day.
Yeah.
What's your suggestion, or do you have a recommendation, Carl, of something that you
it was just, just responding to the consultant's comments, basically, after that. That's just, I think the commission feels that the trees as they are supporting a fairly diverse community of birds. And we're hopeful that's what's left and what's planted provides the same habitat value. I guess there's nothing
I'm relatively optimistic here, Carl, in so much as I understand the reestablishing ecological habitats and so on, with the fact that there's a number of different species here. I hear what you're saying. I don't hate this, though, even though it is probably disrupting some existing bird habitat.
Okay. Other commissioners have any questions? When do we think we'll have the green report back?
Maybe even tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And frankly, I will say that I believe the outstanding stuff is probably not too pertinent to conservation. I think the last comment pertinent was making sure that the ILSF proposed line was on the plans, which it is.
It sounds like it'll take a little bit of time for developing the order of conditions. Do we have a commissioner that would like to help Amy kind of like review that and just make sure we're ticking off all the T's of concern?
And I'm not sure it may be of some benefit for me to sit down with Steve or whoever and the invasive species person to go through some of that stuff. And I did have some comments on the species used, which is easy enough to go through.
Yeah, I think that would be great if you can do that, Steve.
Yep. Yeah, we can certainly do that. We can
Do
come
we
up
have
with
a commissioner or two?
metrics too.
Yeah.
So coming back to the question, are we going to continue this, or what would the commission like to do?
I would like to also get input if you have it on, do you want any signage? Someone mentioned the trash, if there is anything along that back parking lot to at least slow down trash from getting into the ILSF. And snow pushing, snow storage.
Yep.
I think the trash just blows across the parking lot and winds up in the trees. I mean, it's just a matter of going in there and picking it up like any other area adjacent to a parking lot. It's going to get trash.
We have certainly mentioned that in other order of conditions, and that will go in this one as well, with a minimum of, monitoring and cleanup for that. Signage, I think that the signage is something that between, Sean, Brian, and Steve and Amy, we can come up with that of things that we've used before in terms of sensitive areas as well.
I think the signs are good. I think it's going to educate the public. Anytime you can give the public information about an area is always good.
Okay, we have a hand raised. Lisa?
Hi again. I just wanted to.
So, Lisa, if you can restate your name and your address.
Lisa Pohl, 30 Juniper Road, Littleton. I'm very close to Long Lake, and you talked about the invasive species and stuff, and garlic, mustard, and knotweed, and bittersweet, which is pervasive around our area. But I also am concerned about the chemicals that are being put on the roads close by, the antifreeze and the fertilizers in the area that go directly into the lake, and the quality of water. I'm wondering who looks at the quality of water.
Chase as co-chair, you want to take that?
Sure. I mean, Lisa, we look at these in the context of several contexts, but the likelihood and proximity of this particular project impacting Long Lake is essentially zero, given where it is relative to Long Lake. Nonetheless, we do look at stormwater issues and runoff issues at the same time as the planning board takes a look at those. And you'll see that particularly in larger developments like this, the applicants have to institute what are called best management practices. And those BMPs are intended to mitigate things like the amount, not just the amount, but it is largely the amount and the quality of the runoff coming off of the site. And so to your question, who specifically looks at those, that would be us, where we have jurisdiction, as well as the planning board, but principally through the stormwater issues. And then with respect to water quality from septic systems and so on, which isn't particularly relevant for this site, given that it'll be tied to a municipal program, but there the Board of Health is taking a look at those issues and the impact that sewage could have on groundwater quality.
Thank you, Chase. Okay. Yep. Any other commissioners have any questions on this notice of intent? What would we like to do? Do we want to wait and come up with language, or would we like to work on this?
Let's continue and work on the language for the sign, the placements, and wait for the green report to come back tomorrow and go from there.
So if we do that, I would hope that the understanding is that we would have that done prior to the 7th, so that way we could close on that on the 7th. Does that meet with the applicant?
And Amy, for that matter. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, if Amy can get the draft done, then yeah, that works for us.
Okay.
I think as long as we can sit down or even Zoom or something and hammer through some of this stuff. So
Yeah,
we can make sure the language is going to be okay for everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
Are there any commissioners that are passionate about invasives or such that would like to sit in on that call or Zoom if that works into their schedule? You have
Yeah, I would very much like that.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so I believe what I'm hearing is that we are going to continue this to February 7th in the hopes that we will have our homework done prior to that, and assuming that Green gets this, their report to us soon. Okay. All right. Thank you all for joining us for that hearing.
Can I just ask one question on everybody here? Is there any chance that trash removal can be part of the O&M, or is the O&M really going to be strictly, or something else like that, some document? Because it's going to get lost in the order of conditions.
Yes, and we do have a section on trash removal in our O&M. We're a little general, on an as needed, police regularly type of thing. So maybe we can work with you, Amy, on some language that we can add to that'll satisfy the commission and have that part of that document.
Good, thank you.
That would be great. Okay, we're going to carry on. We still have some discussion items. Administrative. So we've got 4 of them. 27 Maplehurst. Amy, do you want to talk to that?
Just to let you know, Kyle Mann is finished over there. And I got to say, I think he did a bang up job cleaning up the wetlands and a lot of the invasive species down there. It'll come back, but he did hydroseed. It didn't take, so that's not going to happen until the spring or summer. But in the meantime, he, instead of building a very low deck, he put in a patio. So I was going to suggest he come in maybe on February 7th for at least sort of a preliminary discussion of a certificate of compliance to see what the commission wants to do about that.
Okay. Can you ask him to have photographs that he can share?
He's doing the as-built, and I said photos, both of the good stuff he's done as well as the patio and the plan and everything. So,
okay.
So that's just a heads up.
Everyone okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I had a question about the hydroseeding not taking. Are there controls in place, or is it just bare earth right now? And is there anything that we need him to do for the remainder of the winter before he can hydroseed it?
Well, I was out there this morning. You couldn't see anything. But last time I was out there before the snow, it was stable. Or it wasn't eroding. It's very flat back there. And I'd have to double check if the erosion controls are still out there or not.
Okay.
So
I think,
yeah. But he's in the process of selling, so he's trying to check boxes that he can check.
Okay. If the snow does melt, it would be worth a photo in case they need to put any temporary netting or anything down.
Yeah, clearly. Chase, I still need your signature on the Water Department MOU for Cobb's. Oh, where'd he go?
No, he's listening. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, I'll swing by the office tomorrow. Thursday.
It's sitting on the counter, so
okay.
You'll get that.
Okay. Perfect. Boardwalk 1.
Boardwalk 1 in Town Forest. I have a proposal into CPC, and I think that's it's later this week, right, Andrew?
Tomorrow night, actually.
Tomorrow night. Yes.
Put in a good word, Andrew.
Hey, I'll make sure it gets through.
And Andrew, do they care? Is it making it any easier or harder for you guys if I'm in person or on Zoom? It looks like it's hybrid.
Yeah, which I don't know how that's going to work out because we actually haven't done any hybrid meetings yet.
I'm coming in person.
Yeah, it's probably a safe bet.
Yeah. And I also, apparently the Electric and Light has a community grants program, which I knew absolutely nothing about. So I have also asked them for $7,000 towards this boardwalk, which would take a little burden off the CPC ask. And they're meeting next week. So we'll
Excellent.
see how that
Okay, ADA Cloverdale.
I think I'm gonna be able to get that grant application in. It's gonna be under the $75,000, which is sort of the max without the town dishing out money. So, stay tuned if I can pull the numbers together by the end of this month.
Okay. Thank you. Then lastly, OSRP.
Just an update that it's moving along. Andrew is chairing it, so I'm sure we'll be done, no problem, by November.
We'll get it done.
Thank you, Andrew. You get many gold stars.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Clearly.
No, you don't get any gold stars for chairing it. You only get gold stars when it's done.
No.
Oh,
Well, that's, yeah.
Wow.
nice. All right, well, speaking of
That's
done,
tough, man.
the meeting can be done, so gold stars can go out.
I guess I won't be getting any. I'll be getting no gold stars. I can see that, Chase.
One thing I'd like to talk about at one of the next meetings is we have to figure out, and Deb brought it up, whether it's hybrid, in person, how long we can all still keep meeting via Zoom. So we'll put that on either one of the upcoming agenda items.
Right
So,
now, I checked, it is until March 31st, as of now.
okay. So we'll have to look into that a little bit. I know we've got some commissioners that have family members at home. Okay. It is, do I have a motion to adjourn? It's 9:37. Anyone want to make that?
Move to adjourn.
Anyone want a second?
Second.
Everybody wants a second.
Everybody.
Roll call votes. Kyle,
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
Chase,
Chase Garvey guy.
Michael,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Carl,
Carl Melberg, aye.
Sarah,
Sarah Seward, aye.
Ryan,
Brian Crowley, aye.
myself, I.